most trusted name in the Columbia Basin comes Callahan Gravel. You'll love Callahan's rock-solid product. Multiple applications include driveways, roads, stackyards, and landscaping. A pothole's worst nightmare. Call Callahan Gravel at 346-2208 to get rocked.
At Napa Auto Parts, we know that trucks are as varied as their owners, from small imports and full-size pickups to vans large and small, even bigger rigs. If you own a truck, Napa has more of what you need than anybody. So no matter what truck you drive, we've got the part or accessory for you. Well, almost every truck. At Napa Auto Parts, you'll find the largest selection of different parts and accessories available anywhere, and the most knowledgeable people in the business. Great products, great prices, and great people. That's Napa.
It's your family road trip, your limousine, your business. It's what you drive. Take care of it at Point S Tire and Auto Service. For tires and expert service you can trust. Get to the point. Point S, expert service guaranteed.
Mud, no problem. Bugs, no problem. Nasty road salt, no problem. Splash and Dash can handle it all. Our amazing features include undercarriage wash, hot wax, clear coat protectant, and 24/7 service. Our floor heat and automatic doors keep us open even on the coldest and snowiest of days. And to top it all off, unlike the nights, our vacuums suck. We know the road to the dome is a dirty one. Let Splash and Dash be a part of your game plan. Follow us on Facebook at Splash and Dash Car and Truck Wash for special promotional offers. Locally owned and operated, we truly care about our customers.
Well, welcome everybody to tonight's broadcast. With me tonight is Christensen, but not Ryan Christensen. Riley Christensen. Welcome, Riley. Glad you're here with me.
Thanks. Glad to be here. Feels good to be back in the booth.
Hey, we're getting a little bit of an early start tonight, and that's because I have this interview that I want to get in. I had a chance to have a phone conversation with Ryland Spencer of Cascadia Preps. He's also associated with the Russell Wilson Quarterback Academy, and he's also the only standing member on all of the seeding committees for the state tournament seeding. And basically what I had is a conversation with him to learn a little bit more about that process, how it works, and get a little bit of insight from him. We'll do that as the pregame. And then at halftime, I got another segment we'll do with him that talks more specifically about the 1A bracket. So let's get to that interview with Ryland.
Sounds great.
Okay, I'm here with Ryland Spencer. Ryland, thanks for taking a little bit of time with me today.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, you've been lately. I've heard that, and you know, when people give themselves a moniker, I like right away flush it away. But lately, other people have been calling you Mr. Football for high school in Washington State. Now, to verify that, you have to have a coffee mug that says so. So, do you have the coffee mug? Because if not, then I think it still hasn't fully gained traction. What's the verdict?
You know, I'm not really a coffee guy. So yeah, no coffee mug with Mr. Football. But you know, I'm not going to turn away a name like that. That's a great name to have people saying. But really, it's just a computer. So you know, we'll kind of maybe pump the brakes a little bit there.
Okay, fair enough. Well, my mug says I'm the world's greatest dad, so there.
Oh, hey, I'm not a dad, so you got that over me.
Okay, so I want to talk to you kind of in two parts. First part here, we're going to talk about just help educate our viewers a little bit about this whole seeding committee process. It's fairly new. It's not the first year, it's the second year, but it's still fairly new. Kind of the basics of it, and talk a little bit about 1A and kind of how we got to where we are. So, like I said, second year, what were some of the changes from the first year? Both like structural changes, and then maybe anything that you saw that was different just because it had already been a year under the belt for the committees.
You know, I mean, I guess the only real change that I know of off the top of my head would be the fact that every classification had its own committee. You know, last year 2A and 1A were in one committee. This year 1A had its own committee, and as far as any other changes, I think the only thing I really noticed is that it seemed like because we went to individual committees, everybody was a little more prepared. And, I think last year there was maybe a little bit of, I don't want to say guys weren't prepared, but it's a little harder for a coach or an AD to maybe pay attention to the 2A classification when they're not in the 2A classification, so
Okay.
I think having just 1A getting its own classification and its own committee, I think that really helped things out. I noticed the conversation in each committee was a lot more thorough. Instead of guys asking questions, there was a lot more, hey, this is what I've seen, and kind of everybody just exchanging ideas.
Okay.
Whereas the year before, it was interesting because, and look, I don't expect a 2A coach to have to scout and watch a ton of film on 1A teams
Sure.
that they're not going to play or anything. So it was kind of hard. But the one thing I did appreciate from last year was all of the coaches that, maybe necessarily didn't know a whole lot about the 1A classification because they were 2A guys. They were very much open and asking questions and more willing to listen. Whereas this year there wasn't much of a need to ask a lot of questions. It was very, now I say that, and the 1A bracket was kind of a cluster because of all the undefeated teams. So there were some questions that went around in the 1A about, hey, specifically towards me, hey, what do you think of this team? What do you think of that team? How would you compare these two teams? Things like that.
Sure.
But for the most part, everybody was way more prepared than they were last year.
Okay, so you talked about a little bit about committees. You said when you kind of walked into each committee. So tell me, when you walk into, say, the 1A committee, seating committee, I'm not asking you to name names, but who's in the room? Like, what types of people, what roles, like who's in the room for these committees?
Yeah, well, so typically there's one guy that'll kind of take control of a meeting in terms of, kind of helping lead the conversation. And so I'll just be very upfront. In 1A, it was Bill Marsh. He's at Bellevue Christian as an assistant coach, but Bill Marsh has a long history of being a great coach in the state. He was at Eastside Catholic for a long time. He was at Archbishop Murphy for a little bit, and then he was also at Cedar Park Christian. So Bill went through some health problems, got out of coaching. He was actually on the committee last year for 4A, 3A, and then got into it this year as a 1A guy. And Bill is how do I say it? I don't want to say it because it might sound rude, but he's kind of like an overthinker in a way, right? He
Sure.
over prepares for things. So Bill came in ready to rock and roll, and he led the meeting, but it wasn't like he was like, hey, I think this team is this, I think this is this. It was like, hey guys, here's some things that we need to discuss. If you have anything else to discuss, let's talk about it. So Bill had a bracket set up on TV, and he was able to, we all put in our 1 through 16.
Okay, because I was going to ask you about that, the process a little bit. How's this?
Yeah.
You're all in the room staring at each other. How do you get started?
Yeah, so and that's the hardest thing, is there's no way to just go, all right, I'm going to be the first guy to talk, Royals number 1. No, what happens is we all put in our 1 through 16. It goes into a spreadsheet. It gets averaged out, and then that sets up our bracket. So whatever your average number is, it goes, you get a ranking through it, and then it gets averaged out. And then, there's some changes that need to happen. So let's just say Royal was, I think, I want to say, a consensus number 1. I don't know of anybody that was disagreeing with that.
Okay.
And frankly, if they were, then I don't know if they were watching football this year. But let's just say Connell was the number 16. Well, the first thing we would do is flip Connell out of the 16th seed, because Royal and Connell, they're not going to play in the first round. So that was,
Okay.
that's kind of one thing that happened. So basically, what happens? You get the 1 through 16. And essentially what Bill did is he put it all into a bracket so that we could all look at the bracket. And then it's like, hey, we got to move this team here. We got to move this team. But you're not trying to move teams too far. So I want to say, and I could be wrong, so don't necessarily quote me on it. I guess I would say
Sure.
I want to say the rule is kind of like don't move them any more than 3 spots. Like 3 is the absolute maximum, and let's try to even stay away from 3.
Okay, so if a team was like, say, a 12 and it made a more favorable matchup to move them to a 11 or a 13, fine, but we're not going to drop them all the way to a 16 necessarily.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the example that I've used a few times for this year is Seattle Prep in 3A was averaged out to be the number 16 seed. Well,
Okay.
the number 1 is O'Day. They can't play them because they're in the same league.
Okay.
Number 2 is Eastside Catholic, same league. They move up to 14. That is pretty much where they were going to stay.
Right. That's as far as they could migrate.
Yeah. And now, if for some reason the number 3 happened to be a Metro League team, they would have moved up again.
Okay.
But the only other thing we really look at is how can we help eliminate some travel for some teams. So in the 1A bracket, we'll talk about specifically Cascade Christian and Colville. And Cascade Christian was lined up to play against OMAC, and Colville was lined up against Linden Christian. Well, we're talking about 2 massive, and I mean massive, travel.
Right. So what you're talking
Yeah.
about is a 9 and a 10, right? You're taking a 9 and a 10 and saying, if we swap those guys, we're gonna cut the travel into about a third or less.
Yes, and you're not going to flip upper seeded teams. So
You're not going to take a home game away.
Well, one thing we're not going to do is we're not going to flip Royal to number 2 to try to make for a favorable
gotcha.
travel schedule.
Okay.
What we would do is flip the 15 and the 16.
I see.
Right.
I gotcha.
So kind of the way you look at it is you want to get 1 through 4 right.
Mm-hmm.
And from there on out, you want to get 5 through 8 right. Well, if you can get 5 through 8 right, and you've got those locked in and you think those are great, well, if you need to move a 14 and a 15, you're not asking for a ton. You know, that's not some crazy thing to say, hey, 14 and 15, we need to move them. And in actuality, I believe that was done this year also. Meridian was the 15 and Kashmir was the 14. They were flipped so that Kashmir would go to LaSalle and Meridian would go to Montesano. Look,
Okay, so I'm gonna
we
stop
don't
you.
have to cross the mountains. That's
Right.
a huge, huge thing.
Right. So a couple things. As you're talking, I'm thinking of questions, right? So,
Yes.
so, and it seems to obviously bear out in the 1A because we only have 2 teams that have to cross the mountains, right? So Charles
Yes.
Wright comes to Royal, Connell goes to La Center, right? Everybody else at least stays on their side of the state. So,
And now we would have liked to flip those 2, let's say,
yeah.
but we couldn't, right? Or like we couldn't move Connell to play Royal.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's kind of one of those things where it's like you kind of got stuck there. But there was also, I think, a definite consensus that Charles Wright was the number 16.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I had a little bit of back and forth, friendly back and forth. It was great conversation with Eric Trent, who you know well.
Yes.
And we talked about, he had posted on social media after Meridian blew out Kings, right? He'd say, okay, now we get the number 16 to go play Royal because we have a losing record. And I was like, no, I don't think that's necessarily the thing. And I don't think he truly believed it either. But it was just interesting because, here you've got a team, the only team in the 16 with a losing record, but they're not the 16 seed. They're the 14 seed. And so to me, some might say, well, that's the committee not doing their job. And I say that's the committee looking at things, right?
Yes.
Looking at schedules and looking at
bit of
all of those types of things.
Used.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to be said about watching a team live. And I saw Meridian on, what was it, Tuesday, about 10 days ago. I saw them on a Tuesday. And I saw them play Granite Falls, and frankly, they took it to Granite Falls. Now, don't get me wrong, Granite Falls is not the greatest, measuring stick, but then they go play a Kings team and put up like 700 yards of offense. Well, that's a league champion that they put up 700 yards of offense on.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, the Kings team that you guys remember from the state championship
Right.
a few years ago, we're not talking about the same team.
Sure.
But it's still a league champion, and they put up, just an absolute crazy amount of numbers on them. Well, look, Meridian plays in a conference where they round robin and they play a home and home against Linden Christian, Mount Baker, and Nooksack Valley. I'm going to tell you right now, Nooksack Valley is good enough to they would beat Charles Wright. They would probably beat Kashmir. But you know what? They can't beat Meridian, and I'd be willing to bet Meridian could probably beat Hoquiam, could probably beat Connell. They might even be able to beat Zilla. Meridian's really good. They played one of the toughest schedules of anybody you're going to find. They played
And
Cedro
they've got
Woolley.
decent coaching.
Yeah, a guy that's won a few games up there, you know. But they played a Cedro Woolley team that it arguably should be in the state tournament, but they lost to Archbishop Murphy in week 10. They lost to Colville, who we've got up here at number 9. They lost to an Amador team out of California in the Sacramento area, and that's a team that is one of the best teams at that level of play in California. And then they lost 4 games to Linden Christian and Mount Baker, who, at number 5 and number 7, and arguably should be maybe even higher. But it's hard to really judge that conference because it's just so tough. You know, it's kind of one of those funny things where that one is so tough that it makes it hard. And then there's a couple other conferences in the state that are honestly pretty bad, and it makes it hard. So I would put Charles Wright and no offense to Cascade Christian, but that conference that they're in, the Nisqually, is just not good.
Right.
And so for Cascade Christian, they maybe got punished a little bit because of the league that they play in. But you know what? I've seen them play. I think they're good. They're not the Cascade Christian team that we all know. It's kind of funny when in the meeting when some things come up and I say something like they're not the Cascade Christian team we all know. Oh, they're not the Meridian team we all know. Oh, they're not the and people are going, well, hey, who is? And then I go, well, Royal's still the team that we all know. And everybody goes, yeah, I know. And here's the thing, and this is, anybody can say whatever they want, and I know there's the perception that having coaches on the committee is a bad thing, especially if their team is in the state championships or is still in the conversation. Right. But I was there. Cody Lamb from LaSalle, he wasn't there to promote, to pump up his team, and the coach from La Center, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was not there to advocate for his team. He was there to advocate for his district, which is kind of what everybody's supposed to do.
Makes sense.
And, at the end of the day, they were, they said, hey, this is who we are. This is, this is how we played. And this is, this is what I think from my district. And everybody pretty much gets together and agrees. And there was very few people, I would say in the 1A, pretty much everybody agreed on the top 4.
Okay.
For the most part. And then
save some of that. We'll talk about that in our next segment.
Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so listen, let me go ahead.
I think kind of like the top 4 and the bottom 4 were kind of like agreed upon. The rest of it was just crazy. But I can tell you this much: when I woke up on Sunday morning, I was not happy walking into the 1A meeting because 7 undefeated teams. That was just crazy.
Right, and that's what I was going to ask you. Kind of my final question for this segment. Let's say. And maybe you can't look at the 1As to answer this question. Maybe you look at you're on all the committees. There's a handful of you, right, that are on all the committees. You represent
actually,
Cascadia
I'm the only
Preps.
one this year.
Oh, you're the only one this year. So
yeah.
And I didn't give you a chance to self-promote a little bit. CascadiaPreps.com, and you guys got a lot of great information on high school football there. And so because of that, you're on all the committees, so you're in all the rooms. And like I said, with the 1A, 7 undefeateds, gosh, that's a challenge. But generally speaking, you talked about we're going to get the top 4 right, we got to get the bottom end right, and then you've got that middle section. So my philosophical question to you is kind of what's actually harder, say the 5 through 9, or like the 10 through 14? Because you told me, okay, we're going to rank these teams, we're going to put it in a spreadsheet, we're going to look at the accumulated rankings, and then this gives us a starting point to have some conversation on how we might tweak a few things. And so you've got, okay, this 5 through 9 and the 10 through 14. And which one of those is hardest to put in the proper place, you think?
I would say the 4 from 7 through 10 is probably the hardest because the difference between 8 and 9 is so minimal it's not even funny. And you're talking about giving one team a home game, and that's kind of the hardest thing.
Gotcha.
And then with 7-10, it's that like turnover spot is really hard because, and I'll go back to last year. We had Stillicum, we had North Kitsap, we had Fife and Squim, And the hard thing was those 4 teams were in 2 conferences. And so you couldn't have them playing each other, right?
Right.
And the hard thing was North Kitsap was probably the better team, but they had lost to Squim. So we couldn't put North Kitsap ahead of Squim. So Squim had to be either the 7 or the 8, even though we knew that they were probably going to lose to Stillicum, and that's exactly what happened. Stillicum.
Sure.
And that's exactly what happened. And then Fife beat North Kitsap, I think it was. Whatever it was, that 7 through 10, I mean, we probably spent 35 minutes just talking about those 4 teams.
Right.
The rest of it was fairly easy. And then we sat there and just talked about those 4 teams for a really long time. And I think having now been in, every committee over the last 2 years, I think that's kind of the biggest spot is always right there in that middle 4.
Makes sense. Hey, let's wrap up this segment, and then we'll do a second segment that we'll be able to use during our halftime show. So let's wrap this up, and I'll be back with you in just a minute, and we'll get our second segment going.
Well, that was a good interview with Rylan. I was glad to hear what he had to say, and hopefully you guys learned a little bit from it as well. Right now, we are listening to the starting offense of the night, or the starting defense of the Knights being announced. We've already announced the players for Charles Wright Academy. Hey, do you want to tell us a little bit about, what do we know about Charles Wright Academy?
This is what I know about Charles Wright Academy.
First thing I know is they had a long bus ride today.
They had a long bus ride. They are on the west side of Tacoma, and so they came a little ways. Excuse me. They have a little over 600 students, they said.
Okay.
And they have a 107-acre campus.
Oh, that's a big piece of ground.
Huge. Includes forest, creek bed, art studios, athletic fields. They are from west side of Tacoma, like I said, and their school is named after a railroad tycoon from the late 1800s, Charles Wright. He didn't have anything to do with the school. They just named it after him. Fun fact, they are the terriers, but not a dog terrier.
Oh.
The terrier has to do with a worker on the railroad.
Okay.
Supposedly like tar, but don't say tarrier.
Okay.
I guess we could if we wanted to.
Hey, let's listen in to the national anthem. Okay. It's supposed to be high 30s, low 40s most of the time during game time. It was a little rainy earlier today, but that's cleared up.
Yeah.
A little bit of wind blowing from our left to right, from west to east. But it doesn't look like it's so much that it would play a role in the game. I think we got great football weather.
Yeah,
what do you think?
It's beautiful. For fall going into winter football, man, it feels good outside. I think the players are going to be willing to get out there and keep warm a little bit, so moving around to get to the football. You're going to have some motivation besides just playing football, I guess.
You want to be a two-way player, so you don't have to stand still on the sidelines.
Right. They got the coats out tonight, though. There's a couple games ago they didn't have the coats out. Riverview, they were in Riverview.
Right.
Throwing blankets down out of the stands. We don't need to do that tonight.
No. This Charles Wright team, you talked a little bit about kind of like the school and that sort of thing, but let's talk about the team. They're the number 16 seed coming out of the Nisqually League. They're the second place team coming out of Nisqually. Cascade Christian is in their league. They're the number 1
Right.
Team out of that league, and they're a number 10 seed in the tournament. Charles Wright, a 16 seed. Charles Wright was undefeated until week 8 when they played Cascade Christian.
Yeah.
And that game did not go well for them. The score was 61-6, I believe. But then in the last 2 weeks, they've kind of righted the ship and blown out some lesser opponents, but hopefully that got them healthy and got their momentum going a little bit. So they've got a task in front of them tonight that we expect to be a challenging task.
Yeah,
The Knights,
monumental maybe you could say it.
yeah, the Knights come in as the number 1 overall seed in the 1A classification, which they were last year as well. This is the second year of the seeding process.
Right.
The Knights have been the number 1 seed in both years. Last year they made it to the semifinals before getting knocked out by Colville, and here we are starting the process all over again.
Yeah, it's exciting to kind of get to this point, and I think that we're playing good football going into these playoffs. And you talk about Charles Wright kind of picking back up their momentum after that loss, but I think that Royal also have some serious momentum going into the playoffs here, and I think that we're playing good football. It's going to be a good night.
We seem to be. I don't want to jinx anything, but a couple things I've noticed lately is the Knights really have not. They've played clean. They haven't garnered a lot of penalties.
A lot better.
In fact, maybe one of the more significant penalties was on the coaching staff, and not on the players a few weeks ago. So, seems that the Knights have been playing a fairly clean game. The Charles Wright Terriers from Charles Wright Academy won the toss and chose to receive. Is that the way you understood it?
That's the way I understood it.
And so we are about to be underway as Oswaldo Guerrero set to kick. High kick, and it's going to bounce about 5 yards deep into the end zone. Doesn't take much benefit of wind for Oswaldo to be able to put one in the end zone. He does that quickly, and Charles Wright will have their first offensive possession.
Yeah, an impressive leg regardless of the wind, and I might have made it in without the wind. Good kick, impressive kicker this year. I keep hoping that we'll get him some field goals to give it a try, but it's just not really our style.
Guerrero would love to kick some field goals.
Yeah.
Give up the middle. We're going to get that number, but I assume it's 14 Nelson.
Correct.
He does the lion's share of their rushing. He has 841 yards rushing, 7.3 yard average. He has scored 18 touchdowns on the ground. So not a big guy, but a fairly dangerous threat. That time he's tackled for no gain. Riley, you're going to have to help me out with defensive. Who makes these plays?
You got it. Quick pass out to the left.
Yeah, that's Nelson coming out of the backfield on a swing route right there. And, Riley, you and I had a chance to watch some of their game film, and we did notice that. I'm not surprised to see him try that, because that's one thing we noticed, like, hey, that's an area where they can be successful.
Yeah.
And so that's what they try to do.
Yeah. Watch tonight for some of those quick routes, at some outs and some hitches.
Yeah. Otherwise, quarterback typically is going to roll out on deeper plays. 3rd down and 10 passing scenario here, and just like that, he's going to roll, throw the ball to the sideline, and it goes right out of bounds. Intended receiver, number 6, Opitz, doesn't have a chance.
He was
Aldo Farias on the coverage.
Yeah, covered well by Aldo. The ball, one of those comeback routes to the outside. He's turning. The ball is thrown before he turns, and so those are hard timing plays, and Aldo was right there to disrupt it just enough.
Looks like the punter is Lundberg. It's a low snap. He picks it up, but it gets blocked. The Knights are going to – it doesn't matter who falls on it actually at this point. It belongs to the Knights regardless. It looks like for the Knights –
Elliot Delay, they're saying.
Yeah, and it's number 56, Jimenez, who ends up picking up the ball. And so the Knights are going to have the ball on a very short field after a 3-and-out, no yards gained on the first possession for Charles Wright. Now we have the Royal Knights are going to have the ball with an incredibly short field inside the 10-yard line, down to about the 8. It looks like it's going to be first and goal from the 8. We do have a Charles Wright Academy player about midfield on the far sideline they're trying to help off the field. See if we can catch that number. If that is...
Thought it was...
It's not 14,
it's not 14,
is it?
It's 10, I
10.
think.
10 is... Okay. 10's
yeah.
a defensive player, special teams player. What's his name?
Dominic Martinez.
Martinez. Hopefully he'll be able to get back in. Knights going to have the ball here, first and goal from the 8-yard line. 2 running backs in the backfield with Christensen. He is going to hand it off, and that's going to be a walk into the end zone around the left side, the short side of the field for Lorenzo Myrick. His first carry, 8 yards and a touchdown. Short work for the Knights after a great defensive stand. You know, we talked about last week when the defense gave such short field to the offense that really the defense was the MVP and the offense just cleaned up the scraps, right?
So far, that's the trend tonight. You know, the Knights are one of those teams where you can't make mistakes. You can't make little mistakes. And so as Charles Wright prepares to punt, by the way, the kick is up and good. You prepare to punt, and even just, it wasn't a horrible snap, but it came right at his feet, and you can't give the Knights any time. It's got to be crisp and on point, and you give them an opportunity, and the Knights are going to take advantage of that, and they did, and give it to the offense and let them do their work.
Yeah, we'll stay here. We won't take a break between, but you know, while we wait the kickoff teams. A couple things. I do have a scoring update that says that Zilla is trailing Deer Park with 2 minutes left in the half by a score of 15-0. So that's one game that's going on tonight. That was a 6 o'clock kickoff. That's why they're so deep into that game already. Right. And the other one we're going to wait some scoring updates on hopefully is LaSalle and Kashmir. LaSalle number 2 seed. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. The other thing I was going to talk about while we're waiting for these teams is Lorenzo Myrick. He has been the fire plug early on in the last 3-4 games for the Knights, scoring first 3 touchdowns, first 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns in the quarter, and really got the Knights going quickly and does so again here. They are happy. That's Lundberg, number 2, happy to let that ball go into the end zone. Going to get the ball out on the 20-yard line. This will be the Terriers' second offensive possession after no yardage gained on their first possession and giving the Knights short field on a block punt by Elliott DeLay.
Yeah, with that rule change of into the end zone, the touchback, I don't know why you wouldn't let it go. I keep waiting for it to hit that 1 yard line and bounce back way.
It almost happened last week against Goldendale. Handoff again. Up the middle, actually gets through the first line, and Cooper Christensen, one of the Knights that comes over and makes that stop. It's going to be a decent gain for Nelson, number 14, for the Terriers. Be a 7-yard gain.
Yeah, number of Knights in over there. Derek Bergeson and Tyler Allwood were also there to kind of clean them up in that second level.
Key matchup to watch on your screen tonight. Nose guard for the Knights, number 64, Michael Perez, versus the center for Charles Wright Academy. Michael's got a chance to kind of collapse things on that play. They do get something going. This time it's going to be a fake to Nelson. Roll out, and the pass is going to skip to the ground, intended for Lundberg. And Jacobson, the quarterback, just, I don't know if it's because he didn't set his feet, but we know that he throws quite often on the run.
Yeah,
so
he's moving around a lot.
Maybe a little nerves early in the game. Going to bring up third down.
He was hurried up, definitely. The Knights are fighting their way into the backfield, and so when you're being chased, I think it's a little bit different to throw the ball than if you can think about it and set your feet and make a good throw. So.
No, Charles Wright rarely uses a tight end. Almost always going to have 4 receivers out in wide pattern. Sometimes it's 2-by-2 like it is right now. Going to send Lundberg in motion. Jacobson shotgun. He's going to look to the left, and he looks like it was going to be complete, but Lorenzo Myrick comes up and really lays the hit to Mayer and knocks that ball loose. So already we have a candidate for our Callahan Gravel rock-solid hit of the game from that safety position. Timed that perfectly.
Yeah.
Knocked that ball loose from Mayer. and it's going to bring up 4th down and 3. And it looks like Lundberg is going to go back to punt again. See if they can do a little bit better job protecting him on this punt attempt. Several Knights get back there. He's in a hurry. Gets it off like a spiral.
Good
Beautiful spiral. Tyler's going to catch the ball and work back from left to right. Looking for some blocks. Comes back to the middle. Real jitterbug move. Very shifty. Runs about 35 yards to pick up about 12 or 15, but the Knights will still have the ball inside Terrier territory down to the 47-yard line. That punt came off like a pass.
Like a pass.
This is like
a
spiral. Tight spiral, yeah. So the Knights, with 10 minutes left in the quarter, take over their second possession. They'll have more field to navigate this time around. After an 8-yard field last time, they're going to have to go 47 this time to put points on the board. Christensen's got one man to his – no, he's got a quarter running back on either side. This time it's a give again to Myrick. He goes up the middle, and he's going to get – let's see, he may have gotten about 7 yards on that carry.
Holler on the tackle for the Terriers. Number 50, Holler.
Braden Holler.
Holla.
Just a sophomore.
You think that people say that a lot to him?
Incessantly, I would say. 2nd down and 3. Christensen's going to go under center. Man in motion. He's going to give it to Myrick. Myrick's going to look to throw the ball deep, intended for Aldo Farias, and just not quite enough air underneath it as it goes out of Aldo's reach. He had a step and a half on the man, and I actually thought that Lorenzo did a pretty good job disguising that.
He's had his eyes downfield. I think he was trying to decide, throw it, run it, throw it, run it, throw it. He changed his mind a couple different times, finally let it fly. I think it was the right decision, but just not quite enough air, overthrew him just a little bit.
So the first passing attempt is not by Caleb. It's by Lorenzo. Caleb's going to go under center this time with a offset I formation behind him. Going to give to Lorenzo, and he's going to get bottled up, maybe barely get back to the line of scrimmage. Was that number 2, Lundberg?
That was Lundberg that came in from the edge.
You know, he's not a big guy, but he plays middle linebacker. Because of his quickness, he's able to knife through holes and creases, and he gets back there for a tackle. Appears to be a short loss, going to be 4th down and 4 for the Knights. This time Caleb will be in shotgun with Lorenzo to his left. Double tight end formation. Ball's on the ground, and Lorenzo picks it up, but basically barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. So that's 2 plays in a row where the Knights have not netted any yards whatsoever, and we're going to end up with a turnover on downs for the Knights on their second possession, give the ball right back to Charles Wright, and clearly in their best field position just beyond their own 40-yard line. So not a great start on that drive.
A little bit uncharacteristic. Definitely hard on the running game so far. I think that the Knights are trying to get it done on the ground, which is fine. But
I do think that there's a conscious effort to establish the run.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I think that the coaching staff looks at their defensive line and thinks we should be able to move them around a little bit. But the linebackers for Charles Wright have played pretty well so far. Jacobson in shotgun, running back to either side. He's going to give it to Nelson. Nelson's going to get bottled up and actually tackled for about a yard loss.
Lots of Knights in on that tackle.
Yeah, I'd like to tell you who made the tackle, but it was a dog pile.
It was a dog pile. I saw Jimenez coming up off the bottom of the pile, and so he was definitely in there. And Michael Perez, as they're saying, was giving credit to Michael on that one. So,
well, if it's a tackle up the middle, he's probably leading the charge at least.
Yep, creating chaos at least.
Loss of 1, 2nd down and 11. Jacobson in shotgun. He's going to fake the handoff, look to the left, but he's got pressure coming. He just throws it away, and Lorenzo Myrick is going to pick it up. Interception to make up for his fumble on the last, and he's going to get pretty much no yards. He's going to scramble around a little bit, but not get anything forward after the interception. He intercepts it on about the 42, 43-yard line, so at least makes up for that fumble.
Yeah.
And he's going to want a chance to redeem himself here.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's so tough as a quarterback to be scrambling around and feeling that pressure, and you just panic a little bit and throw it off your back foot, and I wasn't a quarterback, so I don't know what goes through your head in that moment, but you have to be thinking,
Well, it's self-preservation.
this is going to work. Didn't work.
Duck and chuck there by Jacobson. And the Knights are going to get a penalty.
Uh-oh.
So instead of 1st and 10 for this third possession, they're going to be 1st and 15. We're going to get a legal procedure penalty against the Knights.
Yeah, we were talking about how the linebackers of Charles Wright playing well, and the Terriers play a 3-man front, but those linebackers are really active, up and back and forth, outside, inside.
Sure, that 3-man front, they always bring more than 3.
Right.
You just don't know where they're coming from. This time they're going to bring at least 5, and the pass is going to be to an open Cooper Christensen, but a little too tall for him on Caleb's first pass. Coach Allred hollers over to Caleb, wants to straighten some things out.
Yeah, Cooper had a chance. I just threw his hands.
A little high.
Little high of a pass, but 2nd and 15. See if the Knights can capitalize.
Caleb looks to pass downfield to his right. He's looking for his man Tyler Allred on a seam route and bracketed coverage, but he did have a space. And again, that's a pass where probably didn't get enough air underneath it for him to run underneath it, but we do have a penalty marker down. Did you see what the white hat signaled?
Yeah, I think that
holding
against
the
Knights.
So we're going to go from 2nd and 15 to 2nd and maybe more than 25 if that penalty happened behind the line of scrimmage.
Looks like
it'll be marked up from that point. I'm hearing Deer Park 15-0 over Zill at halftime, and the LaSalle game started the same time as ours, and I'm hearing that actually Kashmir has a 3-0 lead in that game early on. Ball's going to back off all the way to the 40-yard line, so the Knights are going to have 2nd down and 27. They do have plays for this in their playbook.
Yeah,
they just got to get one off.
Got to settle down. And
it's a reverse to Derek Bergeson, and he's going to look to throw the ball deep, and he throws an interception to Jacobson, and he may have been better off to just take off with that ball. The Knights also had a man very far downfield, and they didn't call that. A lineman downfield, they didn't call that either. And so that interception by Derek is going to be the first pass caught this year that wasn't a touchdown. From Derek. Instead, it's going to be an interception.
That's a man of extremes right there. I don't mind.
He's thrown 3 touchdowns.
I don't mind. I like the extremes.
Yeah. So really, Charles Wright putting up a fight right now.
Yeah.
Or at least capitalizing on mistakes that the Knights have made.
Knights need to settle down a little bit.
Yeah, Jacobson with Nelson. He's going to run a seam route right down the middle. They're going to throw it to Nelson, and Nelson's going to catch it. They're going to say his knee was down. Is that Nelson? No.
No, 18 is what it looked like.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mayer. And, Jacobson dropped straight back in the pocket. When we saw on film, he likes to flush out, and he throws the ball kind of to the same side outside the hash.
Right.
When he does take a deep drop and stays in the pocket, it's almost always 4 verticals.
Yeah,
and that's what they did there, trying to hit that seam, and Mayer gets the completion. This time Nelson's going to get smacked for a loss. That's going to be Elliott Delay gets in the backfield for that stop. Maybe a tackle for a loss. So the Knights really not necessarily bend but don't break defense, but right now they've let the Terriers get inside net territory down to the 30-yard line, 2nd down and 12. Jacobson with Nelson to his right. Doubles formation, 2 receivers to the other side. He's rolling out, and this is what we expect for him to normally do, and that's throw the ball to the edges. It's going to be a catch. See that number? Is that Mayer again?
Dearth on reception.
Dearth.
Dearth. 24, not,
24, Dearth on the catch. But this time it's only about a 4-yard gain. Going to bring up 3rd down and a long 6.
There's a wildcat formation here from Charles Wright.
That's going to be Lundberg if they're going to do a wildcat. And that does not work as Elliott Delay shows his speed And, with Elliott, it's been a little bit interesting because he has been bouncing around a little bit. They've played him at outside linebacker. They've played him at defensive end. Played him a few places. And so maybe on film they didn't know where to expect him to come from.
Yeah.
But when he does, it's awful quick.
He's getting some good pressure, some good push through there from that DN position right now, and he's making plays. The play before this, 2 plays before this, he made the play from the opposite side coming across, and so he's getting some good penetration.
They're going to go for it. Jacobson in shotgun, 4th down and 12. He's going to roll to his left, then comes back to the right. Pressure's coming. He's going to get the ball away, and it's going to skip to his intended receiver. He's going to go incomplete, intended for number 24, Dearth, and it's going to be a turnover on down. So it's kind of back and forth with this, some interceptions, some turnovers on downs. Neither team, other than Knights scoring early, the Knights have neither team has really been able to take control after that initial score by the Knights. Knights have the ball on their own 30-yard line near the left hash. It's going to be a toss out to Myrick. He's got some blocking out in front. He's going to follow that blocking and get all the way out to midfield. In fact, I think they're going to spot it right at the 50. So he's going to get a 20-yard gain. That's 5 catches for 34 yards, or 5 runs for 34 yards.
Touches, maybe.
And LaSalle's jumped out to a 14-3 lead.
Knights in a hurry-up offense here.
Christensen finds his man over the middle. That's Cooper Christensen. He's going to try to avoid some tackles, get to the outside edge. He does. He's going to be snagged by the ankles at the last second by number 66, Jason Floyd, a 6'3" outside linebacker. But that ball is going to go from the 50. What do we have?
Timeout, I think. Yeah, timeout, Charles Wright.
Okay. Where have they spotted the ball, though? At the 20. So that's a 30-yard gain on the first completion for Caleb.
Yeah, that's just a couple of plays where their groove is there for the Knights.
Right?
Yeah, they're getting the rhythm back, and you find Cooper, and he's got some speed. He caught the ball in the middle of the field and worked his way towards us to the sideline, got around the edge, which is great. You guy with speed like that.
Yeah, he's not blazing speed,
no.
but he's shifty and strong and breaks tackles, and then when he gets to the edge, he's got enough. And that time, barely shoestring tackled as he's working his way up the Knights sideline. So after this timeout by Charles Wright, I feel like I'm talking about a specific individual.
yeah. I mean, you are.
Caleb's going to hand it off again. Lead blocking out in front. He's going to break a tackle and get drugged down near first down, maybe about 8 yards. We'll see where they spot this. 6th carry of the night.
Jose Medina out lead blocking there, pulling for the Knights.
We're going to give him 7 yards.
Knights hurry up. They give to Lorenzo again. He works his way to the end zone. He walks in.
Woo! From 13 yards out, makes short work, and that's his 2nd rushing touchdown. We're seeing the trend here early in this game as well.
Feed him. Feed him. Make him a big bowl and feed him. It's good to see Caleb getting back into a little bit of a rhythm. He missed a few throws early on, so I think that him hitting a couple of those spots now, he can settle in. Guerrero goes to kick. Signal good.
Guerrero's extra point is good. Knights 14.
So with 4 minutes and 43 seconds left in the first quarter, the Knights lead 14-0. You're watching RoyalKnightsFootball.com. So for Myrick, those are his 11th and 12th rushing touchdowns on the season.
Not bad.
The lion's share of those have been in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Kick again, and it is going to get into the end zone. Lundberg just stands there and makes sure it goes over his head. It's kind of like a volleyball backline
Yeah.
guy, hoping that the ball's going to go out of bounds. He's got a place where he's going to stand and then judge when that ball's coming, decide, okay, if it's over my head at this point, it's going to be in the end zone.
I thought maybe we were going to get a return on that one, but he's just too good of a kicker. He's just too good.
Well, it really is a huge advantage that I don't think we realize we've been spoiled, actually,
Yeah.
by Oswaldo's talents of being able to put that ball in the end zone consistently. Jacobson's going to have a man in motion. He's going to hand off to Nelson going up the middle. He's going to get to the line of scrimmage and fall forward, but he's going to be brought down.
Yeah, Kevin
by
Reyes
32. Kevin Reyes is the guy there.
coming from outside linebacker position, filling that hole really well.
Jacobson goes all the way to the sideline, get the play call from the coaching staff, and
Comes
all the way back to the huddle.
in.
He's going to get his steps on. I wonder if he's got his Fitbit on.
He should. Can you? I don't know if that's legal, Mike.
I don't know. 3 receivers wide right, 1 to the left. He's going to look to the right, make that throw. A little tall, and it's going to be intercepted. Number 13, Cooper Christensen, catches the ball on about the 23-yard line and walks that in. So that's the second interception for the Knights. And this one is going to go for a touchdown, 23 yards out.
That's that quick out, quick movement, quick throw, overthrew his receiver, and Cooper was not on the receiver that they threw it to. He was behind him covering his guy, but he was in good position on his guy, was able to make that interception.
Just 41 seconds between those scores. Snap is a little mishandled, and it's going to be blocked, so there's going to be the score will remain Royal 20, Charles Wright 0 with 4 minutes and 2 seconds left in the first quarter. You're watching RoyalKnightsFootball.com.
From the most trusted name in the Columbia Basin comes Callahan Gravel. You'll love Callahan's rock-solid product. Multiple applications include driveways, roads, stackyards, and landscaping. A pothole's worst nightmare. Call Callahan Gravel at 346-2208 to get rocked.
It's your family road trip, your limousine, your business. It's what you drive. Take care of it at Point S Tire and Auto Service for tires and expert service you can trust. Get to the point. Point S, expert service guaranteed.
Okay, Guerrero set to kick off. Let's see if he can put it in the end zone again. And Jacobson's getting more casual this time.
Of course he can.
Yeah, the wind's in his favor. I always like to see when we go the other direction, he kicks into the wind and see how that works.
I guess that's true.
Did you just do your bratty teenager voice on the broadcast?
No, that's just what I sound like, man.
Oh, that's your Riley Christensen voice.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Thanks for clarifying.
That's
Hard to distinguish sometimes.
That's the voice that everyone growing up asked when I answered the phone. They'd think I was my mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it still happens, by the way.
Jacobson's got Nelson to his left. 3 receivers to the left. He's going to put Lundberg in motion. He's going to stop behind his right tackle. And they're going to give to Nelson, hopefully getting some little power formation there, but they're not going to yield much. Who comes up off the bottom of that pile? Number 22, Avery Ellis is going to get credit for that stop as he just comes up and fights through the block, makes the tackle. It's going to be a 2-yard gain.
Yeah, they tried to get to the outside, it looked like, on that one, get around the edge of the line there.
Yeah. And when Lundberg went into motion and he stopped behind the right tackle, almost was like a wing T kind of a scenario,
almost,
right?
Kind of thing.
This time he's going to look to throw to his left, doesn't see anything, flushes out of the pocket to the right, makes the throw, and he's got a receiver that looked to be open. That's Dearth, but the ball goes out of bounds right to the backups on the sideline for the Terriers.
Yeah, those, 10, 12, 15-yard comebacks can be really effective routes. You push your defender down the field, make him kind of turn around and chase you a little. And
then you come down to the first down marker, and I thought the pattern was run well. The pass just wasn't there for Jacobson. 3rd down and 8. Pressure coming. Michael Perez in the face, and the ball is going to be nope. It looked like it was going to be caught out of bounds, but it's out of bounds and not caught. Cooper Christensen on the coverage. I think it was Darth again, the intended receiver.
Yeah,
so he's been targeted quite a bit tonight. And instead of a completion and a first down, we're going to get 4th down and 8. And we're going to have Tyler Allred back at about his own 45-yard line awaiting this punt. Snap is decent. Good pressure, but he gets the kickoff. And Tyler's going to pick it up on one bounce and hope to get some blocks set up. He does. He's going to get to the edge and eventually drug out of bounds. We got a penalty marker.
Yep. I think they're going to call one of those blind blocks, blindside blocks on.
Okay. You got to do that with your hands
there
now.
There was a big hit. Somebody went down.
Well, there's 2 flags, so they both think they saw something. Likely they did. We'll see what film yields when we get a chance to watch that.
Yeah, I guess.
We're about 3 minutes left in the first quarter. The Knights have a 20-0 lead, and even with this penalty, they're still going to have decent field position. Did they make the call? Did they tell us what the penalty was?
What's this?
Yeah, that's the blindside block.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what it's technically called, but personal foul.
Yeah.
Not good.
That's going to be a 15-yard penalty, but the ball will still stay just barely on the Terrier side of the field for the Knights. Looks like they're going to spot it at about the 48-yard line. The Knights offense seemed to get into a little bit better rhythm on the last drive.
Yeah.
Well, the drive before that, because there was an interception on the last score.
Yeah.
Give to Lorenzo around the right end, and he finds a hole, and again, barely tripped up. He's going to get from the 48 all the way down to the 30, 18-yard gain, and that's Lundberg with his speed having to get outside from his middle linebacker's position.
Coming from behind.
Scrape out there and get to Myrick, 8 carries, 72 yards. Caleb throws across the middle this time. Aldo with the catch and the stutter step and the touchdown from 30 yards out. That's the first touchdown throw of the game and just the second completion of the night for the Knights. Now, here's the thing. Okay, Cooper's got a 30-yard catch and Aldo's got a 30-yard catch.
Uh-oh.
Difference, Aldo's was a touchdown.
Oh, no.
Not so much for Cooper. Now, here's the thing about Aldo.
Cooper.
He knows. I guarantee you he knows. Here's the thing about Aldo. Aldo has, up till now, 10 catches. 5 of those catches were for touchdowns, which means now he's got 6 touchdowns on 11 catches. More than half of his catches
That's pretty good.
yield touchdowns.
Kick is up and good.
So with 2 minutes and 36 seconds left in the first quarter, the Knights have a commanding 27-0 lead. You're watching RoyalKnightsFootball.com.
Mud, no problem. Bugs, no problem. Nasty road salt, no problem. Splash and Dash can handle it all. Our amazing features include undercarriage wash, hot wax, clear coat protectant, and 24/7 service. Our floor heat and automatic doors keep us open even on the coldest and snowiest of days. And to top it all off, unlike the Knights, our vacuums suck. We know the road to the Dome is a dirty one. Let Splash and Dash be a part of your game plan. Follow us on Facebook at Splash and Dash Car and Trunk Wash for special promotional offers. Locally owned and operated, we truly care about our customers.
Royal Dairy, dedicated to making the world's best ingredient, milk, for one of the world's greatest companies, Dairy Gold. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Royal Dairy, or check out our website at theroyaldairy.com.
The return man now, he's getting more and more bold. He's now past the 5-yard line. It's like that ball's going in.
He's headed to the sideline.
And one of these times it's going to hit and roll back and slap him in the back, and then he's going to be in trouble.
Oh, that would be great. Now that you say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I have a part to play in that,
I know.
but it would be fun to watch,
How can we
wouldn't it?
get word down to Osvaldo? Mm-hmm.
Again, 20-yard line to start this possession. Jacobson has Nelson to his left. He's going to look to his left to Nelson out of the backfield. He catches it, but he's barely, in fact, I think he's going to end up with a loss. And who is that on the stop? Number 16.
Tyler Allred.
Tyler Allred with a tackle for loss. About a 3-yard loss on that screenplay out of the backfield. Not really a screenplay as much as just kind of a wheel route into the flats, trying to get Nelson the ball in open space. But Tyler really closed on
really
that
well.
quickly. You're right.
Not so much open space when you've got speed like Tyler a little bit.
Motion, Lundberg. Now he settles in behind tackle and falls forward.
Falls over.
And that's going to be a 5-yard penalty against the Terriers for legal procedure. Instead of 2nd down and 13, they're going to have 2nd down and 18. So go in the wrong direction so far on this drive. You know, they had one drive where they got the ball all the way down to about the 30-yard line. And
they had a couple of throws up the seam that worked out for them. Just haven't been able to get that back.
I don't know if it's just haven't been able to get that back or if the coaching staff for the Knights has made some adjustments, but haven't found that magic from the one drive again since then. 2 receivers wide right. They're going to hand off to Nelson, and he gets to the line of scrimmage, past the line of scrimmage, but drugged down by number 6.
Yep. Derek Bergerson.
I don't even need to see Derek's number. Derek has a saunter about him when he gets up. I'm like,
gotcha.
oh, that's Derek.
That's Derek. He's got those. Bergerson and Cooper's got the same. You know, he's got a wingspan that's a foot longer than he is tall, and so you get up and you just go, oh yeah, you go. Those guys must be cousins because their arms are almost dragging on the ground.
3 receivers to the short side of the field here along the Knight sideline. Just one in isolation up top. Jacobson looking to that direction, but things are closing down on him. He does get the ball off at the last second, but it's well defended by Aldo Farias. Intended receiver number 6, Opitz. And Aldo right there on him knocks the ball away. And we're going to have a 4th down and about 16 or 17 here for the Terriers. Lundberg will go back to punt. And likewise, Tyler Allred will go back to return. This time he's going to be on the Terrier side of midfield at about the 44-yard line, awaiting the punt. It's over the head of Lundberg, and Lundberg's just going to let it go out of the end zone, which by definition is a safety. The Knights will get 2 points, and the Terriers will have to now kick to the Knights. So with not much, 36 seconds left in the first quarter.
Yep.
We're going to have a safety.
Yeah, the result is pretty much the same, except you put 2 more points up on the board.
It's going to give the Knights so this will come, they won't kick it from the 40. They'll kick it from the 30, I believe.
I believe so.
And the kicking team, here's the thing interesting about a safety. On that, he did the right thing to let it go through the end zone, because if he would have tried to pick it up and got tackled in the end zone or booted it around and one of the Knights would have fallen on it, it would have been a touchdown for the Knights if they would have fallen on it. And you never know what could happen there. In fact, that's similar. That's a mistake that Michael Perez made earlier in the season as the punter. Wasn't quite sure what to do, tried to pick it up, kicked it around, and the other team, Okanagan, jumped on it and got the touchdown. This time, Lundberg just lets it go right through the end zone, gives up the 2 points instead of the touchdown, and actually the ball's on the 20-yard line.
Wow.
And the kicking team has the option to either kick it from the tee or punt it. Some teams choose to punt it because you can get more hang time that way and get your coverage team downfield. But it looks to me like the Terriers are going to kick it from the tee. The Knights' back deep guys are at about the 35, but instead the Knights are just going to fall on it, cross midfield. That's Derek Bergerson, number 6. Just falls on the ball. The ball is going to be spotted at the 48-yard line interior territory. Make that the 47-yard line.
I don't know what you call it. It's not a squib kick. I'm
No,
hesitant to say
typically a
this.
squib is, you really want to bounce it around, but you're not trying to do an onside.
I'm hesitant to say this word on air, but like a pooch kick? Is that a thing?
A pooch kick usually goes vertical.
Man, it just was a bad kick, I guess.
It was just a kick. I think he just wanted to let it bounce around, but this time it's going to give another give to Lorenzo Myrick around the left side, and
Breaks
it looks
a few
like he's going to
tackles.
get knocked out of bounds, but not until he's all the way down inside the 15. Maybe they're going to say he stepped out at the 15. The ball was at the 47, and they're going to spot it at the 15. So that's a 32-yard run, and just like that, Lorenzo Myrick is up over 100 yards as he has 9 carries for 104 yards. The Knights are going to get a playoff here. Caleb's going to roll to his right. He's going to find Derek Bergeson. Derek Bergeson's fighting for yardage. Eventually gets brought down near. Let's see where they're going to spot this. Probably about a 7-yard gain.
Yeah.
We'll see exactly. That's the first catch for Derek.
I can't imagine that Derek is an easy person to bring down.
It's going to be a 7-yard gain. And the Knights in the hurry-up offense trying to get off one more play. This is going to be a give to Elliott DeLay. And Elliott kind of loses his footing as he's taking the handoff, and he's not going to get much. And they will spot the ball on this end before they move it to the other end. But they're going to take a little bit of time to do that. So while they're doing that, we're going to take a break. And you've been watching RoyalKnightsFootball.com.
Hard work, determination, team spirit. These are all qualities that put a winning team on the field. And the folks at Saddle Mountain Supply know something about a winning team. For over 30 years, Saddle Mountain Supply has worked hard to provide the highest level of service to the local community. They are determined to offer the best quality products at competitive prices. And they boast one of the top teams in the ag industry, ready to offer a helping hand or timely assistance. From bookwork to fieldwork, from accurate applications to reliable recommendations, Saddle Mountain Supply is committed to using the latest in technology and training to attend all your agronomic needs. Check out our website at www.performanceag.com for the latest in industry trends and market prices. Saddle Mountain Supply at performanceag.com. Quality you can count on, performance you can plan on.
Getting a scoring update. Zilla has put some points on the board. They trailed Deer Park 15-7. That's a game I'm not necessarily declaring that the upset special, but it's one I really thought Zilla as an 11 seed was going to give the 6 seed Deer Park a real game. Ball's on the 5-yard line. I'm trying to remember where it was before so I can figure out how many yards to attribute to Elliott. And 1, so he's just got 2 yards on that.
Yeah.
This time it's a give to Michael Perez up the middle, and he's bouncing through and gets into the end zone from 5 yards out. He was pretty determined.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of a street fighter
Oh, man, yeah.
type run there.
Yeah.
Michael Perez gets a touchdown from 5 yards out on the ground, and the first play of the second quarter results in points for the Knights.
I like that package. Let's yeah.
Normally he's in there to be the blocking back. This time they let him touch the ball. Oswaldo is going to kick up and through. And the Knights are going to jump out to a 36-0 lead. We'll take another quick break. You're watching RoyalKnightsFootball.com.
Just like Royal Football beats up on opponents, Fielding Law Group beats up on insurance companies. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, give Fielding Law Group a call and join a winning team. You've got a friend in Fielding. Go Knights. Navigating the paperwork mountain that can come with hiring a large temporary work crew can feel overwhelming. Taxes, fines, fees, there's a lot to remember. The guys at Rangeview Ag Labor are ready to help you with all your ag labor needs. Picking, pruning, weeding, harvesting, they'd be happy to help. You can reach the Rangeview Ag office at 509-488-5099. Fully licensed and insured, they have services available to farmers all around the Columbia Basin. Rangeview Ag Labor, 488-5099.
This time Guerrero's going to be kicking into the wind, so we'll get a
Yeah, we'll see.
real test here if Lundberg's going to be able to let this one go into the end zone.
Don't let me down.
Driving kick, it's going to bounce at about the 18-yard line. Lundberg's going to come up and skirt around it a little bit, almost like he was doing a breakdance move around the ball.
Yeah.
And then falls on it.
Smart.
And the ball's going to be just about the same place as it has been all night, near the 20-yard line for the Terriers. This is their first possession of the second quarter.
So it was pretty much into the end zone. You know,
It's all the same.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Well, now in pros, you can do a fair catch
Yeah, inside the
25 and you
25-yard
get
line.
and you get to take it at the 25, right?
yeah.
Official timeout.
We got an officials
I
timeout.
don't know what happened.
What do we-
Tyler's coming out.
Oh,
He must be having blood
do
or
you
something.
think he's got a blood? As my kids when they were little, they
A
say,
blood.
"I got a blood." Maybe he's got a blood.
Gunnar Anderson coming out to take his place for this play.
Coach is real high on Gunnar Anderson. Oh,
Wow.
that is number 56,
56.
Eddie Jimenez. Holy cow. We talked about him. In fact, as a sophomore, a guy who hasn't played a lot but got a chance to start last week, he was the player of the game for our broadcast. So we selected him as player of the game. He had 3 tackles for loss last week. He's got a tackle for loss there, and that's another Callahan Gravel rock-solid hit that he delivers for about a 6-7-yard loss on that little quick pitch. That's that little, like a grid kid type pitch where they just kind of fling
Right.
it out there to
Yep.
the running back.
Go get it.
Okay, this is going to be a running play. That's my prediction. Oh, are you kidding me?
No.
Are you kidding me? They're going to throw it?
Oh.
They're going to call pass
Pass
interference.
interference.
There's a flag on
That is the first time we've watched that formation on film.
Yeah.
How many times? And every time they're in what we call the double stack, which means there's 2 guys on either side of the formation out wide, but they're kind of lined up in front of each other.
Somebody must have told them.
Always a running play.
Somebody must have told them.
Yeah, and they said we've been scouting them, so they need to change that up. 21-3, LaSalle leads Kashmir. Now, that's a score that we kind of expected.
Yeah.
LaSalle is a number 2 seed.
Mm-hmm.
They were the champs out of the SCAC West. Kashmir was a second-place team out of the Caribou Trail League. They're a 15 seed. And so that's a matchup that LaSalle should be able to handle. So that 15-yard penalty does not result in a first down because
Wow.
they had 16, almost 17 yards to go, and pass interference does not result in an automatic first down. Jacobson's got to get some yards here, and he's not
Tipped.
able to do it. Looks like it was tipped at or near the line of scrimmage, intended for, is that number 6, Opitz over there? I think it might be.
I think so.
So now 3rd down and 1
pass is incomplete. It's third.
for the Terriers from their own 29-yard line.
Might have been Kevin. Kevin was out there, and so was Avery. I think one of them
Who
got
may
their
have tipped
hand
it?
up, who might
Yeah.
have tipped it out there and
Yeah.
disrupted that play.
In real time, that's a real hard one to see, but on film, somebody's going to be taking credit for that for sure.
Yeah, I hope so. Uh-oh.
Oh, Michael Perez wanting to get an early start and gives up the first down. He hits the center with some force. That's number 77,
5 yards.
who is not listed.
Not listed.
I can find him. I think he's listed right here as number 64, but he's actually 77. So that's Trevor Gagne.
Gagne?
That's how you pronounce it in French. First down, give to Nelson. He gets past the line of scrimmage to the middle, to the linebacking core, and it looks like Derek Bergeson is the one that trips him up. Other Knights assist as well.
Nelson's first hit by Derek Ferguson and a couple teammates finished him off.
Derek doing well. We were talking about Eddie Jimenez. He's he's one of the ones who
Just a sophomore, not a big kid.
swapping back and forth when they're moving Elliott around from the line to the linebacker. It's Eddie who was on the line at one point instead of Elliott. They're the ones who
Right.
kind of swap back and forth.
Right. This
couple of
time
games.
Eddie's lined up on the left side of the defensive formation. Looks like he's in coverage, but I think he has running back responsibility. Nelson's going to get hit at or
Whoa.
near the line of scrimmage, driven back. Avery Ellis, the one that has him wrapped up, he'll get credit for the tackle, but there are other Knights in there also with the contact.
Yeah, I think Avery hit him first, and then Michael Perez picked both of them up and moved them back 2 yards. So,
let me relocate you.
yeah.
Third down and about 6 here for the Terriers. See if the defensive line can put some pressure. He's going to roll out, try to throw to the outside edge, and nearly picked off by Cooper Christensen on a route intended for number 24, Dearth Like Earth.
Dearth
Did I
like
get it right?
Earth,
Did I get it right?
Colin Firth.
I'm not going with actors. We're going with elements. That reminded me a lot. Cooper wasn't able to grab it. That reminded me a lot of Joe Lang's interception for a touchdown in a state championship game, where he knew the receiver was going to turn
on the run.
He knew the receiver was going to turn just beyond the first down marker, jump the route, and it would have been the same result right there if Cooper would have been able to secure it. High snap. It's not going to be able to get. He's not going to be able to get it off. Tackle is going to be number 48, Elliott DeLay. That's the second time Lundberg's not been able to get the punt off. Gives the Knights a really short field. Ball going to be spotted right at the 25-yard line.
That one was interesting. It was like a higher snap on that one, and so he didn't have enough time.
It almost didn't have enough oomph on it because it was a high snap, but it didn't go over his head. It hit the ground in front of him,
right? It was like a slow.
Yeah. So like if I were the snapper, that's
Right.
probably what you should expect.
Yeah, I was a snapper, and I never snap like that. Don't worry.
Avery Ellis gets a chance to carry the ball.
I like that.
I do too. Last time he carried the ball before that, he had like a 46-yard touchdown run against. It's going to be a 9-yard gain on his first carry. He's the fourth Knight to carry the ball on a rushing attempt tonight. Caleb's going to fake and roll to his left. He's going to have a choice of who he throws to, but we got a penalty marker down, and so that's going to come back. I would assume they're going to end up with a holding penalty against the Knights.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, I don't believe in the jinx. I don't think I jinxed the Knights, but that's something we have, because I talked about penalties earlier in the game.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it.
I'm not taking credit for the jinx.
I didn't want to say that was a thing that was happening.
But this is twice now the Knights have been called for
a hold. Mm-hmm. A little bit uncharacteristic.
Going to take a touchdown off the board, and they're going to move the ball back to the 28-yard line. Be second down and about 13 for the Knights. Christensen's going to be under center. He's got a tight end to his right and then a wingman lined up behind that. We're going to fake the pitch and hand off on the inside cut play. That's Derek Bergeson, and he's winding
Still
around, gets
feet.
to the edge, and going to get knocked out at about the 5-yard line. So he's going to go from the 28
I love that play.
to the 6. That's 22 yards on that carry. Derek's fun to watch in the open field because he really sees his blockers. He's got good vision, and he kind of just, it looks like he's meandering down the sideline, but he's picking and choosing, getting to open spaces. First down and goal for the Knights. Caleb's going to hand it off to Myrick around the left side, and nobody even touches him. He walks in for his third rushing touchdown of the night. A 6-yard gain gives him 10 carries for 110 yards here early in the second quarter.
Not bad. Maybe he's making a bid for Performance Tire Performer of the Game.
He is making a bid. Yeah, I would say so.
Doing himself some favors there. Guerrero to kick. Good snap, good hold, good kick. Signaled good.
So with 8 minutes and 31 seconds left in the second quarter, the Knights jump out to a 43-0 lead and a running clock situation. You're watching RoyalKnightsFootball.com.
The great thing about an old truck is you can treat it like an old truck, which is exactly why you got a truck in the first place. It's not old, it's broken in. So keep it running longer, stronger, with quality parts and a whole lot of Napa know-how. That's not gonna buff out.
The Farmers Business Network helps you, the producer, level the playing field by creating unprecedented transparency and competition for your business. We offer direct from the manufacturer convenience and pricing, as well as 0% financing until January 2021 on all chemical, seed, equipment, and operating loans. Be sure to check out our website at fbn.com, or better yet, contact your local Washington representative, Michael Hebden, at 509-989-9756. That's Michael Hebden at 989-9756. Proudly serving farmers first.
Hey, I wasn't sure we were going to get all the way through that commercial, and then the ball blew off the tee.
I know. Meant to be. You're welcome, Farmers Business Network.
Yeah. Kind of that's a pooch kick. That's a pooch kick,
yeah.
okay?
No, I'm
see,
with
see
you.
the difference?
Yeah,
That's a
no,
pooch
no.
kick.
It totally makes sense.
Ball taken at the 30-yard line. He's going to get upfield for about 5, 6, 7 to see where they spot it. 5 yards. And they'll take the ball. Best field position of the night, 35-yard line.
If I remember correctly, that has been kind of a staple kind of kick for us over the years.
Over the years, we've been able to lift those and maybe had a real speedy guy that can get down there and have a chance to even recover it, like guys like a Steven Toro from a few years back.
Not
guys
so
that
much
could get
this
down
year.
there. It's going to be a keeper this time by Jacobson at the middle, and he's going to get twisted down.
Nowhere.
By number 52, Jose Medina, it looks like. His first tackle for loss.
Runs the snap and loses a couple yards, brought down by number 53.
I think it was 53. Carlos Garcia, actually, who made that tackle. That's confusing.
Their numbers are one apart, and they're cousins.
They're right next to each other on the line, too.
Yeah.
And there's a 56. Too many 50s, too many 5s that look like 6s or 8s.
50s are those guys in the 50s. Those are hard. Those are Dick Butkus type guys, right?
You're right. I'm with you.
Jacobson rolls to his right. He's scanning the field, tries to throw it deep, and it should be intercepted. In fact, it is. Third interception of the night. This is Tyler Allred
on the move.
He's working the ball inside Terrier territory down to the 40-yard line, and that is the third interception thrown by Jacobson, as he was just throwing up a prayer trying to get it to Lundberg, and it just floated up there. And really, the only question of whether it was going to be interception or not was whether Cooper was going to knock it out of Tyler's hands.
I was worried for a minute that the two of them were going to run
they need
into
to communicate a little bit.
Worked out. Made a good receiver catch on that one over the shoulder almost.
Look to the left, screen pass to Cooper. Got some blocking out in front. Ooh, an incredible decleating block by Michael Perez as he takes Opitz and just drives him backwards. We do have another penalty marker not in the same place.
Right.
That's a completion to Cooper.
I think they're going to call another hold on the Knights.
That's a downfield hold, so the completion will actually stand. And these are always tricky to figure out what yardage do you get?
Yeah, you're the 10 yards down the field, when end of the play, penalty brings it back to the original line of scrimmage, 1st and 10, like it never even happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I should give him some yards.
Yeah.
Fake the handoff. Caleb goes downfield. He's got Cooper this time wide open.
Wow.
He gets behind Opitz and into the end zone. Opitz takes a chop at the ball, but they're already in the end zone when that happens. And so Cooper, this time, no holding penalties on the field, and the Knights are going to put more points on the board. Deep pass from the 40-yard line. That's the second passing touchdown for Caleb, and the third catch.
Beautifully thrown ball. Cooper was right underneath it. He almost had to slow down and wait for it to come down out of the sky.
Yeah.
So,
third catch, first touchdown for Cooper.
Good snap, good hold, good kick, good.
Everything was good. You're watching RoyalKnightsFootball.com.
Grower Solutions, we believe our responsibility to the planet begins right here in our community, where we live, work, and play. Unity and pride drive a winning team of farmers, partners, and Simplot employees who work hard to feed our local communities and the world beyond. It's an honor to support the community that has supported our business year after year and generation to generation. Thanks for your partnership. Check out our website at simplot.com.
Hey guys, Micah Chen here from Cascadia Preps. Looking for the best coverage of high school football? Cascadia Preps is your #1 stop for all things high school football, team rankings, game analysis, and weekly podcasts from around the state. Visit us today at cascadiapreps.com.
Guerrero, he really gets a workout in the first half.
yeah, he does.
This time driving in the wind, but it's going to be a little bit more of a pooch. Lundberg's going to come up, taking on about his 20-yard line.
Oh.
Avoids the first tackle, but not the second. Tyler was in there, but who was the primary?
J.C. Worsham coming up.
J.C. Worsham, number 72, with the special teams play.
You talk about Guerrero, and it makes me think of Royal High Knight legend Jeff Jack, who was the running back, the horse, and kicked field goals. And I can't remember if he kicked kickoffs too, but
I don't think he kicked kickoff, but he kicked field goals and extra points.
Extra points, all of that. I mean, that's got to be
for a while between his touchdowns and his extra points. He had the scoring record for the state. Pass this time to Lundberg from Jacobson. Jimenez in coverage, just chasing him out to the flat, and the ball goes off of Lundberg's hand. Another incompletion brings up second down.
Wasn't it wasn't a throw that was necessarily on the spot that they wanted it to be, but that's kind of one of those staple plays that we talked about, that quick out running back coming, and he didn't come from the backfield, but just that quick, get it out there to the flat and see what they can do. But even if he caught it, I don't think there was anything that he was going to be able to do with Jimenez right there.
We'll talk about Jimenez a little bit more after this play. Handoff to Nelson, right up the middle. He may get back to the line of scrimmage.
Michael Perez, the first one there to slow him down. Number of
Who
nights
else
getting
gets up on the bottom?
Elliott's on the bottom of that thing.
Yeah.
So is Carlos Garcia coming up off the bottom there.
So what I'm going to say is the last few weeks, Eddie Jimenez has been quite a revelation. As a sophomore, looking for that guy who's quick, a sure tackler, can be in coverage, kind of a hybrid guy. He's not a real big guy. Reminds me a little bit of a guy who didn't turn out this year, but played that role last year a little bit, Tucker Jeanette, where quick enough to get back there and put pressure, also smart enough to recognize, drop into coverage if he needs to.
Well, the Knights have a complicated defense. This isn't straightforward. He's got to be smart out there, too.
Jacobson rolls to his left. He's going to continue to look to his left. Throws the ball. Wow. He did not have good communication with the receiver. He threw the ball towards the first down marker, hoping the receiver would break the pattern off and do a little comeback there.
He was 5 yards further down the field.
Yeah, so that's not what happened. We talked about Jacobson a little bit. When he rolls out, he typically always throws outside the hash, between the hash mark and the sideline. And so he naturally kind of almost cuts off two-thirds of the field when he rolls out. And another incompletion brings up fourth down. Jacobson gets the quick kickoff, but Michael Perez still gets a hand on it. And it's going to stay behind the line of scrimmage. The Knights, well, like I said, it doesn't matter who falls on it.
Right.
It looks like it was actually number 66 for the Terriers, but that won't matter. It'll still be Knights' ball. Michael Perez blocked that thing. It must have been a low trajectory kick because he blocked it from the field like 4 yards away, right?
And that was about as close as you can get to going over the line of scrimmage as the ball is hiked as you can get. I mean, I thought they were going to call offsides on the Knights. That's how close it was, is that they were moving the second the ball moved, and that allowed Michael to get back there and get a hand up.
Sounds like it's still 15-7. Deer Park leads Zilla, but things are getting a little bit interesting. Last I heard, Zilla had the ball on the Deer Park 20 late in the third quarter. First down and 10 for the Knights. Going to be a handoff this time to Lorenzo. He's following some good blocking out in front, but he's going to get corralled not much more. He's not really going to get to turn the corner. It's number 22, Avery Ellis, with the lead block outside. And we'll see where they spot this. Well, it's going to be more yards than I thought it was. He's going to pick up 6 yards. That's 11 carries for 116 yards. So right at a 10-yard average for Lorenzo tonight. 3 touchdowns on the ground. Aldo Farias running late into the game, going to go out to the slot on the far side. But it's going to be a handoff to Delay up the middle. Ooh. He barrels over the linebacker.
Nice.
Before he's eventually brought down, he's going to go from the 21-yard line down to the 10. Going to be an 11-yard gain for Elliott.
22 Dara Peters on the tackle for the Terriers, and he was hit. He held on to him, but Elliott put a hitting on him, man. He kind of put his shoulder down, and he's shifty, but he'll run you over too.
Well, yeah, he's kind of got low hips, but then when he decides he's going to put a shoulder on you, he does. This time is going to be Derek Bergeson around the outside edge for his 10-yard touchdown on his first carry of the night.
Knights working the edge really well tonight. Was it Derek that had that good play that got called back a little bit earlier too, around the edge too? And so he gets in the end zone finally, and this one counts, which is great. And how many Knights is that with a touchdown tonight? This feels like a lot of different guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus a pick 6. Ooh, that is a very high extra point. But it is good. With 4 minutes and 45 seconds left in the second quarter, the Knights lead the Terriers by a score of 57-0. You're watching RoyalKnightsFootball.com.
Ode to the new Subway flatbread sandwiches. Took Subway to make a flatbread sandwich great, light, airy, and fresh toasted till its flavor reaches the towering peaks of Mount Delicious. This flatbread sandwich has the mammoth-sized taste to plug whatever hole your appetite's got. Try a big, bold new steak and bacon melt, or put on your fancy pants and try the new chicken Florentine with spinach artichoke spread. Only at Subway. Subway. Eat fresh. For a limited time at participating restaurants.
It's your family road trip, your limousine, your business. It's what you drive. Take care of it at Point S Tire and Auto Service. For tires and expert service you can trust. Get to the point. Point S, expert service guaranteed.
So the Knights have scored 4 touchdowns in each of the first 2 quarters so far. The only difference is in the first quarter, the Knights also had a safety. This is going to be kind of an off-line kick taken at the 10-yard line by Lundberg, but he's going to get maybe to the 15, and that's it. Tyler Allred and J.C. Worsham teamed up on the last kickoff for the special teams tackle. They're the same guys down there this time. And I'm not sure who actually made contact, but they were both down there. Did a good job. And, again, Oswaldo, even though that didn't go in the end zone, he's pinning them into the corner.
Right. Yeah,
he's taking away so much of the field.
Great placement. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier. Underrated a little bit, I think. Just the things that he brings to the team. You don't think about it all the time.
Yeah, they don't show up in the stat sheet.
No.
Jacobson, a little bit of bobbled shotgun snap. He's going to keep it.
Not going to go anywhere.
Before he's driven down. It's going to be
Kevin Reyes and Avery Ellis on the stop there. First by Kevin and then run right into Avery, finish him off.
Short gain of about a yard, brings up 2nd down and 9. And, here the Terriers are at this tough spot, right? Do we keep our regular offensive scheme and try to move the ball down the field?
Right.
Which involves passing, which involves they've already thrown 3 interceptions.
Right.
And incompletion stop the clock. Or do they try to keep the ball on the ground, keep this clock churning, and try to minimize the damage at this point? Under 4 minutes left until half. Jacobson's going to hand off to Nelson. He's going to get hit for a loss. He's going to be just back to the original line of scrimmage for a loss of about a yard. Elliott Delay, one of the Knights, getting up off the bottom of that pile.
Yeah.
And I've got Elliott down for being involved in 3 tackles for a loss.
He's getting a good push on the line tonight.
They just don't have – he's too quick for their big guys.
Yep.
And he's too strong for the slighter build linemen.
Yeah, I like that.
was trying to choose words.
That's
there.
very thoughtful.
Jacobson's going to hand off to Nelson. And
Ugh.
again, Elliott delay back there. This time Michael Perez helps him out.
Oh, and then he helps him up.
Hey, I like that. I like that. It's like we teach the good kids. Knock them down, then help them up.
Yeah. Michael Perez he's been this way all season, but again, it's that as soon as the ball is moving, he gets in a rhythm. He figures out their snap count.
Oh,
and he wants
does.
to be moving.
He studies and pays attention to that more than just about any
Gets him
nose
in trouble
guard.
sometimes,
Yeah,
but-
it does, but you'll take that risk every now and then.
Same thing right here.
Sundberg's going to get a kick off, or Lundberg, excuse me. Not a very good kick, but a decent roll, and it's going to get down to about their own 42-yard line. This is where the Knights will take the ball with 2.5 minutes left until half.
Kick goes out of bounds at the 41.
And starting to make some
Yeah, make some
transitions here.
changes in.
Carter Dorsing coming into the game, and Diego Santillon coming into the game. That means Cooper's coming out of the game, and Derek Bergeson coming out of the game. And usually when Carter Dorsing comes in the game, he is a target. He's a target. Caleb says we're short a player. Derek Bergeson runs into that slot. And it's actually going to be a handoff. Tyler Allred, we're going to have a penalty marker down, so this is all for naught unless it was an offsides by the defense or encroachment. It's going to get about a 12-yard gain otherwise with the penalty marker.
They threw it towards the side of the offense, but
They're bringing the ball
usually
back, so that means it's going to be against the offense.
usually stop the clock or stop the play if it's a illegal
If it's
procedure.
a pre-snap penalty, right? It's going to be a legal procedure against the Knights.
Interesting.
And they're going to mark it off 5 yards. Going to be first down and 16 instead. They're going to have to navigate 46 yards instead of 41.
I guess it doesn't change a lot, but it's another play that our guys have to run, 8 yards down the field and then 15 yards back.
I don't think they're complaining.
They're tired.
I think that varsity is not going to complain about more plays.
Okay, you're right.
What do we got?
Uh-oh.
Broke the huddle with 12 men. That's what it's going to be.
Oh, no.
A little disorganized.
Guys.
Broke the huddle with 12 men. The 12th man trying to figure out where he's supposed to be, and the answer was on the sideline.
I thought we're the 12th man.
Now we're going to have first down and 20, and the ball's pushed past midfield into Knight territory at the 49.
I like a challenge.
Caleb's going to go under center. And it's going to be a toss. This is Tyler Allred in the backfield.
Oh, yeah.
Following some good blocking
Oh,
outside. He's going to pick up 10 at least, get past the original line of scrimmage. Maybe he's going to get 12. I think he's going to get 12.
Yeah. We've talked about Tyler this year.
That's his first carry. I'm running out of space on my stat sheet.
Oh, that's a good thing to
We're
hear.
giving the ball to too many guys.
I love it.
Hey, let's get a signal down to the coaching staff. That's enough.
Hey, guys, calm it down. Wait till the second half. You're going to keep stats, then you're going to have like 3 sheets worth of stats.
Toss out to the left. This is not Tyler. Is this Avery Ellis?
Yeah.
And he's interesting because when he runs, it looks like he's not getting much. And then you look up and he's like, oh, that was a 6-yard gain. Oh, that was a 7-yard gain.
Yeah.
We got a late penalty flag thrown in that direction. It's
on the defensive side
it's
there.
a 5-yard gain. It was thrown late. I don't know if it would have been like some late involvement or potentially kind of a face mask. I'm not sure what that penalty is going to be. Let's see. It's going to be a personal foul, a helmet contact against the, wow, that's a big one, against Charles Wright. So he had a 5-yard gain on the run itself. That's a second carry for 14 yards. And then they're going to tack another 15 yards onto that.
So
and it'll be inside the red zone here for the Knights. What's your question?
Does high school have like a targeting kind
They
of
don't have a targeting.
thing? Like that
like
guy
you
doesn't
can't
have
be
to leave,
you can't be
right?
ejected, right?
Yeah.
They don't have that kind of a
I didn't
targeting.
think
Oh, you
so,
launched or whatever.
Sure.
It's basically just a personal foul, helmet to helmet contact, but there's no targeting. Avery Ellis, he's going to run over the first tackler, stumble forward. That first guy coming through is number 4. Number 4.
Uh-oh.
That's for you to pronounce.
Ben is his name. Ben.
Ben. We're going to go with Ben.
Ben Irigui. Irigui.
Second down and 2 from the 12-yard line.
I'm sure he's really nice.
That who's on that carry? Avery?
That was Avery. And
8 yards, his third carry.
What's crazy about Avery is that he got met early, but that was still 2 yards down the field, and then he gets another 6 yards after the contact. Love it.
So that's the halftime. The time runs out, and the Knights are going to take a 57-0 lead into the halftime break. Quickly, 28-3 LaSalle just before half, leading over Kashmir, and actually Deer Park is the one that ends up putting points on the board. They lead Zilla 22-7. We're going to go to our halftime show. That's going to include a good interview again with Ryland Spencer, part 2 of our interview, where we're going to talk a little more specifically about the 1A classification. And we'll be back after that with some stats and hear from our advertisers. You're watching RoyalKnightsFootball.com.
Your day means getting from point A to point B, as in bank or ballet. G for gym, W for work. When what you drive needs tires or service, get to Point S, Tire and Auto, a trusted neighbor with the right tires for how and where you drive, and certified techs to take care of what you drive. So you get to all the points in your day and home again safely. Get to the point. Point S Tire and Auto Service. Expert service guaranteed.
Royal Dairy, dedicated to making the world's best ingredient, milk, for one of the world's greatest companies, Dairygold. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Royal Dairy, or check out our website at theroyaldairy.com.
Okay, Ryland, we're back. This is the Washington Fruit and Produce halftime show. And it was great getting the background information on how these committees work and kind of the intricacies of things, travel arrangements, and which ones are the most difficult to seed, games and that sort of a thing, who gets a home game, who doesn't. But I want to talk a little bit specifically about the 1A bracket this year, go through that a little bit, and if you have any comments or thoughts on any of those matchups, and I might interject a little bit as well. But generally speaking, what did you feel about the results of the seeding 1A seeding committee this year versus last year? Because you've said this before, that if there were anything, it was the 1A committee last year that maybe could have fine-tuned a little bit better. And we talked in the previous segment about maybe it wasn't that they weren't prepared, but they didn't know what to expect necessarily. So ends up being Colville Royal playing in the semifinal. I think most people looking at results would say Colville should probably been, or Royal, should have been 2 and 2 or a 3 so that they'd be on the opposite side of the brackets. Do you see anything like that this year that concerns you as the tournament opens up?
Well, last year I think it was just in my eyes, it was obvious who the top 2 teams were, and that was Colville and Royal. And so I wanted to try to get the 2 away from each other as much as possible.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure they were on opposite sides of the bracket. And the fact of the matter is the committee didn't agree with me. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. Sure. That's what this committee, that's the way it should work. This year, it's so tough because I think the thing that makes this the hardest, Mount Baker and Linden Christian have played twice. They've beaten each other on each other's home fields, by the way.
Yeah.
So you had to make sure those two...
The visiting team won both of those games. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and it was a 28-7 win for Linden Christian and a 24-7 win for Mount Baker.
Right.
So we're talking about, minimal between them. But if they're going to play again in the state tournament, it has to be in the finals. So those 2 teams had to be on opposite sides of the bracket. Mm-hmm. I think both of those teams are very capable of winning a state championship. I don't know which one I would put higher.
Well,
I think it is.
I was going to ask you about that because there's actually a team kind of wedged in between them. in the bracket. So
yes, and that's Deer Park. And the hard thing is Deer Park is undefeated in what many consider to be a very tough Northeast Conference.
I would say there's parity for sure in that conference.
Yes. Well, and the hard thing is there's parity all over. Like I said, the only team that was like the only team that everybody looked at and said absolutely, positively is Royal at number 1. Mm-hmm. After that, it was like, LaSalle at, some people had them at 2, some people had them, at 6 or 7. Some people had Mount Baker up as high as like 2 or 3,
right.
And so the key for it this year was, it was like, hey, let's get Mount Baker and Linden Christian away from each other. And then from there, I look at it and I go, hey, I think LaSalle's very capable of making their way into the state championship. They returned a ton from last year, and they are very improved. They are much, much better than they were last year. But I'll tell you what, that second round matchup against Linden Christian, it wouldn't surprise me if Linden Christian came over and beat them. It wouldn't surprise me at all. And when I look at Montesano, I think Montesano is really good. But you know what? They haven't played a ton of people. And as a matter of fact, one of the odd games I'm picking this week to go against, I'm picking Meridian over Montesano.
Okay, a 14 over a 3. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Now, don't get me wrong. In my bracket, when I turned it in, yes, I had Montesano really high and I had Meridian really low.
But sometimes you get
I think that's a great matchup.
Right.
Yes, I think it's a great matchup for Meridian, and I would not be shocked if they went down and beat them. Remember last year, Mount Baker went on the road and beat Meridian before coming to Royal and losing there.
Meridian?
So,
Montesano.
Mount Baker. Mount Baker wouldn't beat Montesano.
Montesano, right.
Yes, and then Mount Baker came and lost to Royal. So
right.
It's one of those things where I look at it and I just go, okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4 should all win this week. But I'm not going to lie, it wouldn't surprise me if Connell wouldn't beat La Center.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Connell is not as good as they have been, but that's not a bad football team.
Well, that's my upset special actually this week.
Oh, so you're going with the 13 and the 4. I'm going with the 14
13
and the 3.
The 4. I think La Center is a little overseeded in this deal, and I think Connell probably is seated about where they are. I had them as in that 11 to 13 range, let's say. Yep. So let's talk about some of the SCAC schools. Connell, the only team from the east side that has to travel the west side, and I think that they feel like with La Center's style, I think that they've got a good matchup there, and I think that's one that could be an interesting game, even though the seeding disparity would make you think otherwise.
Yeah, well, and this is where having 7 undefeated teams, and in all honesty, Linden Christian and Mount Baker should be looked at as undefeated.
I agree.
So you're talking about basically 9 undefeated teams. I mean, that's just ridiculous, and it was so hard to seed this. And when I look at Connell and La Center, I don't think that I think you're right in a way in saying that they may be seeded high, but I also look at it and go, well, maybe Montesano seated high, maybe LaSalle seated high.
Somebody's got to prove that they're overseeded, right?
Yeah, well, maybe Cascade Christian is too low.
Yeah.
Maybe OMAC, hey, OMAC, that's a very good football team.
Yeah.
So maybe they're, seated too low. And, it's just so hard to look at this because, like I said, I was dreading it. The 2Bs and the 1As, I was absolutely dreading walking into those meetings because I knew somebody was going to be undefeated and have to go on the road. I knew it was going to happen because there was no way you could tell me that Linden Christian and Mount Baker were not top 8 teams. You just couldn't do it. And so I knew that somebody was going to have to move down. And
right.
I mean, think about this. Cascade Christian undefeated 7-0 going to Linden Christian at 8-1. Yeah. We have a team with no losses having to go play at a team with 1 loss.
Yeah, but that's where you have to use some common sense, and I totally agree with that matchup, that pairing.
Yes.
Let's talk about one other SCAC school, Zilla. Zilla as 11, which I thought that was pushed a little too far back, and I think Deer Park's pushed a little too far forward. But in my mind, I actually, if you flip the seeds, that's kind of about where I had them. And so, I mean, I may be wrong.
I wouldn't put Zilla at a 6.
But I wouldn't have put Deer Park at a 6 either. That's just me. But I like this matchup, right? I like this matchup. You have to reward
a league champion.
Yeah, I like this matchup though. What's your thoughts on the Zilla Deer Park matchup? I think it could be a really competitive game.
I can tell you this much: Scoresar has Zilla beating Deer Park.
You're right. I noticed that.
And I'm going to be completely honest. Anywhere from 3 through I mean, in all honesty, anybody from 3 to 14, I could see winning a game.
Right.
Right. I don't see Hoquiam beating Mount Baker, but you know what? Hoquiam's tough and physical, and they could probably play with a Mount Baker. Kashmir, I don't see them beating LaSalle. I don't see Charles Wright beating Royal. But outside of that, it would not surprise me if I'll tell you what, as a committee member, I really hope it doesn't happen, because it will make it look as though we have no idea what we're doing.
Sure.
As a media member, I would be going nuts, and it would make for some awesome podcasts next week.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, it's scary because, like I said, I could see a lot of upsets in this. Like, I mean, Colville beating OMAC, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. Connell beating La Center, it would surprise a little bit, but it wouldn't surprise me. Connell's a good football team, and they know what they're doing over there, you know. And
right, exactly.
Cascade Christian over Linden Christian. I mean, an undefeated beating a team with one loss. Not a Meridian over Montesano wouldn't surprise me. Zilla over Deer Park wouldn't surprise. I mean, it's just this 1A bracket. Like I said, it was. I wanted to avoid it as much as possible. Unfortunately, the second I walked out of the 4A meeting room, 1A was sitting right there, and I didn't realize it, and I walked right into it on accident almost. So I was pretty much brought right into the 1As as soon as I walked out.
Well, I think the only thing you can guarantee is several weeks of fun and excitement. That's for sure.
Yeah,
so,
and it's not just in 1A. All of them. I think all of them are very exciting this year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
My parting comment, because we got to wrap this up, we got to fit this in this halftime show window here, is I'm rooting for the East Side schools, and the reason I'm rooting for the East Side schools is because I always root for the East Side schools, but I want to break the system, and I want to have an East Side state championship game.
you want Royal versus LaSalle, and it to be played at Moses Lake.
Moses Lake's fine.
Or
we could
Central
go to Wenatchee. We could go to Central. There's all sorts of places we could go.
Hey, you said it was Washington Fruit and Produce or something that sponsors this?
Yeah. Washington Fruit and Produce sponsors our halftime show.
What's a guy got to do to get a box of cherries or something?
Oh, I don't know. I'll put in a good word. I'll see if I can put in a good word. Yeah. Fresh and crisp. That's the way they come from here. Once you get them in the store over there, I'm not sure how long they've been there. So
yes. Last time or 2 years ago when we were out there in the summertime, I got a box of fresh cherries, and man, those are some good stuff.
Gotcha. Well, hey, we got to wrap it up. I really appreciate your time. It's been good to talk to you. And like I said, people go to CascadiaPreps.com. Where else can they find you, Rylan?
I mean, on Twitter at Rylan Spencer, but I tell everybody to email us at Cascadia Preps, or CascadiaPreps@gmail.com, and say newsletter, and we'll send everything right to your inbox.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan. All right. Take care. Have a good day.
At Simplot Grower Solutions, we believe our responsibility to the planet begins right here in our community, where we live, work, and play. Unity and pride drive a winning team of farmers, partners, and Simplot employees who work hard to feed our local communities and the world beyond. It's an honor to support the community that has supported our business year after year and generation to generation. Thanks for your partnership. Check out our website at simplot.com. Navigating the paperwork mountain that can come with hiring a large temporary work crew can feel overwhelming. Taxes, fines, fees, there's a lot to remember. The guys at Rangeview Ag Labor are ready to help you with all your ag labor needs. Picking, pruning, weeding, harvesting, they'd be happy to help. You can reach the Rangeview Ag office at 509-488-5099. Fully licensed and insured, they have services available to farmers all around the Columbia Basin. Rangeview Ag Labor, 488-5099.
From the most trusted name in the Columbia Basin comes Callahan Gravel. You'll love Callahan's rock-solid product. Multiple applications include driveways, roads, stackyards, and landscaping. A pothole's worst nightmare. Call Callahan Gravel at 346-2208 to get rocked.
Just like Royal Football beats up on opponents, Fielding Law Group beats up on insurance companies. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, give Fielding Law Group a call and join a winning team. You've got a friend in Fielding. Go Knights.
Mud, no problem. Bugs, no problem. Nasty road salt, no problem. Splash and Dash can handle it all. Our amazing features include undercarriage wash, hot wax, clear coat protectant, and 24/7 service. Our floor heat and automatic doors keep us open even on the coldest and snowiest of days. And to top it all off, unlike the nights, our vacuums suck. We know the road to the dome is a dirty one. Let Splash and Dash be a part of your game plan. Follow us on Facebook at Splash and Dash